I like spaceships.
Everyone, that was Jedi Survivor. Jedi Survivor. I'm Jason DeWar from MakingStarWars.net. All hell Lambhead, Mr. Maximus. Yeah, so we got kind of crappy news. Not the best news, not the worst news though either. I think it's all something to be fairly rational about in the end. You know, as we know, if you follow bestmanbulletin.com, who hasn't covered this yet, as far as I could see when I looked on his site a few minutes ago. But Jedi Survivor had a delay already. It's been there's been a couple of pushbacks here and there, and Bestman was saying for a while it was going to pop up on at the Game Awards, and then it did, but it's not going to make that release date apparently. And as irony would have it, last night, if you guys remember, I was doing the show yesterday. My son comes over to hang out with me, and he's like, "Hey, can we go get some fries or tacos or something?" I was like, "Yeah, but we got to walk." And it was like lightly raining. He's like, "That's cool. I want to walk in the rain." I'm like, "Okay." So we go, and as we're going, he's like, "Dad, there's only 1 month until Jedi Survivor." And hey, Thomas, how's it going? And we pre-ordered that stuff, as Thomas knows, and we pre-ordered that game. We were super excited for it, and he's like, "It's not that far along now that it's February, Dad." And I'm like, "Hey, I hope so, but this is a big game. Games always get delayed." And then no joke. I sent out a message to somebody who might know. I'm like, "Hey, is that still on track?" And I got told, uh, "Tomorrow we'll talk." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I didn't hear anything, and this came out. So that's what I think I was just being told, was just like, "You asked me too late, and it's coming tomorrow." And then here it is. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So like I said, it's not that bad though. Here's what they said. For the first 3 years, the Jedi team here at Respawn has poured its collective heart and soul into Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And I think I wrote that wrong in the title of the video. I hate Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Sorry, you don't get to do it that way. That's just such a dumb convention. I hate that. And then look at the logo, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It just doesn't make sense. Anyways, and we're proud to say the next chapter. I get it though, and we're proud to say the next chapter in the tale of Cal Kestis is content complete. We are now focused entirely on the final stage, bug fixes to enhance performance, stability, polish, and most importantly, the player experience. So that means no more bugs like that allow you to fly through the sky, in that last game. Jedi Survivor is a direct response to the feedback from our community, delivering expansive destinations to explore. So like, Hawaii, Mexico, all kinds of stuff like that. Evolved combat and traversal, and of course, the continuation of Cal and BD's story. Look at BD getting bumped up to the press release. He's in the big time now, baby. Making this game has truly made us a better team. And we have pushed ourselves at every level to make this the Star Wars sequel our fans expect from Respawn and Lucasfilm Games. All right, that's good. We should do that. In order for the team to hit the Respawn quality bar, provide the team the time they need, and achieve the level of polish our fans deserve, we have added 6 crucial weeks to our release schedule. Star Wars Jedi Survival will now launch on April 28th. Thanks to EA and Respawn for giving us the time to deliver the best experience to our players, and to all of you for understanding. May the Force be with you, Stig and the Star Wars Jedi team. So then it has little logos there. So like I said, doesn't make me super jazzed. I mean, it's like I'm somebody who's actually like bought the game. So I think I'm I'm allowed a little bit of bitching on this one if I really wanted to. But I gotta say, that's not the biggest deal. In fact, 6 weeks is pretty reasonable, you know? Um, I think this is like a marketing thing or something? No, because you don't need 6 weeks to all of a sudden, oh shit, we didn't do marketing like it's our homework. So that doesn't really make sense to me. I don't see why you would need to do that. Especially when you could just do a big push at the end. He's also Baymax says Star Wars making. Yeah, I think if actually if anything, this messes up the ability to market the game. This messes up any marketing that they had established already. This means, oh shit, everything needs to be rearranged and pushed back. It means any interviews that have been scheduled will either have to be conducted at that time and then held. It means a lot of things. It's not like I said, it's not the biggest deal. This is more of a headache for them actually than it is for us, I would say. I'm not a gaming expert though, so I'm not gonna, die on a hill about it or anything. The crawling chaos says, with games, I prefer delay to a buggy launch since botched game launches are the norm these days. Yeah, I mean, and exactly. Like I said, like my son loved that bug where you could fly around, where you're just like flying around in the air, then whatever you want if you got like the right force powers. And to me, it was like I started to kind of check out on it. I told him we couldn't do that when we were playing the game, like that's cheating that it's cheating to do it. Let's not do it while we're playing through. And but he's a kid and he's like, I want to fly. So I don't blame him. I get it. But so yeah, stuff like that not happening is definitely, for the best. And I guess now you have a little bit more time to read that book, that they want him to come out with it. So, but once again, proves my point being this isn't good for the marketing of the game at all, actually. Unless they hold that book back too. Are they going to hold the books back? I don't know. Maybe they should. But I would prefer to read the book in that 6 weeks that the game's not out, and then, you know, the fucking game comes out and I know the backstory if I wanna know it, as opposed to being like, "What do you wanna do? What do you wanna do with your time, Rule Farm Boy? What do you wanna do? Do you wanna play the game, or do you wanna, read the book?" Or, at best, you could buy the audiobook and listen to it while you're playing the game and pause it during cutscenes. You don't want to do that. You don't want to Pulp Fiction it with everything going on at once. So, well, maybe you do. I don't. I'd rather just do one or the other personally. So, and once again, thank you, Farm Boy, for becoming a channel member yesterday. Super cool. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Thomas. I'm super and I chat. Yeah, you do, man. You do. You are pretty super. Thank you, Tom. Um, so anyways, um, Dale says I haven't played since Evercrack died out. Boy, dude. I would tell you about when I was about 20 years old. Ruins of Cunark hadn't come out yet. Yeah, that's where we're at. And I'm a paladin, EverQuest. And I got this little cheap desk in my little studio apartment, As soon as I could, I moved the fuck out, got out of my parents' house, and I got my little studio apartment. I have this cheap little computer desk. Like, computer desks weren't even that new because personal computers weren't that big of a deal. Like, they had just become one, basically. And there was a sword called the Ghoulbane, and I spent like hours trying to get it in that stupid game. And you had to walk up to an NPC and you had to type like, "Here is the sword. I am a fucking paladin," or something like that. And I did it perfectly correctly. I looked at it, I stared at it. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I hit enter. It takes the contents to make me the sword. Just didn't do it. And like I had like a fucking Jackie Chan moment. I like punched down on my desk, like, I literally karate chopped my cheap ass computer desk, like, I did it. Boom! And the desk just goes in the middle, and I was like, "Holy shit, it didn't even hurt. I'm super. I have superpowers." But, no, I don't. Turns out I don't. But and hey, Meg. Meg, were you gonna play Jedi Survivor? I know you played the Lego Star Wars game. Do you play all the Star Wars games? I don't remember hearing you talk about it too much. But one more thing I think that's worth hitting on because it'll likely come up in people's comments or videos in the next couple of days. The amount of people who played the first game in this is like way more than people watched a Star Wars TV show. So you'll oftentimes hear, "Oh, maybe Cal Kestis is gonna end up being on live action," as if it's a graduating thing for the character. It's actually a demotion. Less people will see Cal. I think it was 30 million people played that first game. So 30 million people were introduced to Cal. He had a chance. He had a chance with 30 million Star Wars fans to become a character, a living character. And for me, he did. For me, he worked out. Not my favorite character, but he's pretty good. But when you compare that to what like the numbers that most Star Wars TV shows got, numbers aren't so big. So Star Wars makes us. I was late to Fallen Order, but played it. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm excited for it. Like I said, I'm bummed that we have to wait longer, but it could be worse. It's not that big of a deal. Not that bad, in my opinion. It's a pretty easy wait. What is the new release date, if any? Oh, was that not in that thing right there? I think you are correct in saying in that it's being delayed until what? Was it April 28th? I think I said. I think it's April 28th. Just trying to see what it where it was here. I had it. I thought it was in that press release. I like saw it and let me see if it was in there and I'm just not remembering what I read. Because sometimes, yeah, April 28th. Jedi Survivor will launch globally on April 28th. So, not not ideal, but not so bad. Especially when you consider, I mean, the Star Wars content we're gonna have Mando running at that time too. So, you know, it's still like in the Mando time or window. You know what I mean? Yeah, 420. Hey Tyler, how's it going, dude? So, yeah. As the is like, you just read it, you idiot. Don't you remember what you read? And the answer is sometimes no. Sometimes not at all. I'm like Ron Burgundy. You just put the copy in front of me and I just go. So, anyways, yeah, 28th in the pick says Tits McGee. So Colin says, I noticed it right after I asked. Oh, yeah, yeah. Me too. Hey, I read it, man. Thomas says, I really enjoyed the first one. Super high hopes for Survivor. Yeah, me too. Like there's things about it that I'm like a little bit like, is it gonna, is this gonna be the one that gets kind of jumps the shark with like the old stuff, or is it gonna be really rad? But when you go through, if you go on YouTube right now, you can just watch like look up like Fallen Order movie, and people have cut it into like a film, and where they just like they don't spend 5 hours like solving puzzles. They just kind of like fade over, and you see like the little plot points, and then the cut scene. It's about 3 hours long. When you watch it, like some of that stuff is as good, if not better, than some of the live action TV shows. And so I'm optimistic it's going to be good. I'm out, and the idea of like the old threat, from the High Republic era coming back and stuff like that is pretty fun. And I like what they've done with the characters that we've seen who are returning. Seer looks like all fucking hardcore Jedi'd out and not like a nice freight pilot, anymore and stuff. So I think the other characters will show up as well, and I think it'll be cool. So I think it's gonna be fun. But I don't know if I'll have a way of being able to like put it on here, or not. Um, Whenever I try to use StreamYard, like when I had the game running on like the Xbox app in the StreamYard, it put like all stuttered out and shit, like my speaking, and I was like, this isn't really comfortable to watch. But it would be cool if I was able to figure that out and we could I could just play it and hang out with you guys and you guys could laugh about how much I suck and then be like, dude, you should be able to figure this out. And I'll just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. But Robert Sinclair says, my 6-year-old nephew loves Cal and BD1. He really liked the Lola droid in Obi-Wan because he found it similar to BD1. Yeah, me too. I do. I liked when that droid showed up in Book of Boba. You know, some people say it's not BD1. In my mind, it is until BD1 dies or Cal doesn't. But it does appear to be BD1 to me. I think it's BD1 until until it contradicts. But Seth says missed opportunity if they don't surprise drop it at Celebration. They can't have that many bugs to fix. It's only a month delay. Oh, dude, bug fixes there could be a ton of bugs fixed in a month, and it depends on what kind of bug fixes they are. We don't really actually know, so it's kind of hard to say. Yeah, I'll send you the invite right now, Mister True. Check your Twitter DM, and I'll send it to you if I could find you. Hold on. Come on. His name is as a true Twitter. Dude, Twitter is like slow as fuck now. Okay, here it comes. All right, there you go, dude. Yeah, you could tell me what's on your mind. Video game making Star Wars a video game correspondent as a true. Jason, any skeleton crew or Ahsoka scoops coming anytime soon? Maybe. I spent the last couple of days working on stuff from since late last week, trying to get some stuff going that I can put out that's safe to put out and stuff like that. And so I got some stuff lined up, but no promises that it's I don't want to tell anybody to hold their breath right now because I'm not 100% sure if I can put out what I'm hearing. Just and we're hearing a little bit about Andor, what's going on there, but the stuff with Andor is so abstract that I feel like if I said anything about it, or if anybody else says anything about it, it's going to be taken out of context into a way that is just not what it is. I'm trying to think of how to put it without putting it out there. But let's just say I don't know. I'm making this up, okay? This is not what the story is. Let's just say fucking Luthen hasn't filmed yet. Then it doesn't mean he's not in the show or something like that, right? So if somebody else put out that story about, hey, guess what? Luthen hasn't filmed yet. Everyone's like, oh, Luthen's not in the season, or Luthen dies, or whatever. And it's just no, none of it means that because they don't film these things in order. So so it's just it's all right now we're in that interim things with stories. Mr. As a True. You're here to bring the As a Truth? Okay, I can't hear you at the moment. At the moment, you don't have sound. I don't think they can hear you either, but if you could hear me, then that's a good sign. But Tyler says, pretty sure they cast straight to Twitch from console. At least I think you can on PS5. So I would go to Twitch and then to YouTube from there, or would I have to do it after? But yeah, it looks like I would have to. I'm not on. Yeah, I'm not on PS5. I'm on the new Xbox, which I really like. It's pretty good stuff. But yeah. So Azurtruk asked, "Can I hop on the show?" And you can, but you're not allowed to speak. We
Okay.
can only okay. Well, you broke the rules. How's it going, dude?
Good. I'm just already seeing people saying game cancelled and
Oh,
Disney at war, and I'm like, I don't understand how many times does this have to happen for people still to repeat the same old lies. It's just so frustrating. It's like it's a 6-week delay,
yeah.
and it's gonna be out like this month has gone really quick. The game is fast approaching. It's just another 6 weeks, and we're gonna have Mando in that time to occupy us.
Mhm.
The Bad Batch is on as well. Celebration is gonna happen before it,
Mhm.
and now it's just gonna be it. I'm seeing people complaining, and I'm like, I've seen people saying only a couple of weeks ago, "Oh, I don't trust Respawn." I'm like, how can you not trust Respawn? They've got a
Yeah.
good track record, an exceptional track record, one of the best in the industry. It's like the facts are out there. You're just going with this completely stupid narrative. Like, people forget Titanfall 1 sold incredibly well, something like 10 million copies, whatever.
Mhm.
Then Titanfall 2, considered one of the best FPS games of all time. Fallen Order didn't necessarily review that highly, but in terms of sales and sentiment around people that actually, like, in terms of non-critics, loved it. Apex is still dominating 4 years later. Um, the new game's going to be great. Like, it's not going to be cancelled, and the fact that they've delayed it because they have this such high bar is only a
Yeah.
good thing. And it seems
I
like
appreciate it.
I'm glad a lot of people are saying most people are saying take your time. I think that's changed in this industry recently. Like, usually a delay was like a really bad thing. Now it's like people are more accepting, which is a good thing. But I think Star Wars fans that on the more casual side are gonna see this as like not a good, like Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. It works so well for that. Like,
Mhm.
2 years of delays led to this game that is still pretty, like, ended up pretty. Aside from, yes, it did have some bad bugs when it first came out,
There were
but
there were I didn't have
there was
too
some.
bad
There
of
were
bugs.
some. I never experienced them, but on
Yeah.
like the Xbox One and PS4, there were
Mhm.
some game-breaking bugs. But those were
Okay.
fixed within the first week, for example.
Right.
Even so, that's a whole different situation because TT Games. I don't know if you've heard, but they're going through stuff still. Whereas
Mhm.
Respawn have got it all together. They've always had it together. So yeah, yeah. People shouldn't be worried. I'm kind of relieved because I was worried when I first saw it. It's like, oh, is it going to be like near celebration? Am I gonna have to cancel celebrate? Like, oh. But thankfully, it's a few weeks after. It gives me time to take a bit of a break from having to make videos for another month. Um,
Yeah, somebody very innocently in the chat said, "Oh, they should like low key release it at Celebration." And I was just
no, no,
like,
no, 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 no,
"No,
no, no.
that's like terrible." Then like there's this game and you're like at Celebration if you get to go and you want to play it, but you
If let's
can't.
say I don't know 50,000 tickets are at Celebration, that's 50,000 Star Wars fans that aren't going to be able to play the game. Like the
Mhm.
people that have got it pre-ordered. Like how mad are people? People won't show up to Celebration to play the game.
Yeah.
That's how big of the game it is. A lot of people. Also really hate it when people, like, I've seen it with this game. I saw it with Skywalker Saga. Everyone's
Mhm.
like, release it on May 4th, whatever the day is. No, release it before. Just wait to release it on a day that is used to sell t-shirts and discounts on games
Yeah,
that came out
you could
years
always just
ago.
leave yours in the wrapper and open it up May
That's
4th
what
if
some
you
people
want
did
to.
though with Skywalker Saga.
If you want to.
I'm like, okay, you do that, but I'm not waiting a month. Like, it was a whole. I was like, you really are waiting a month, and they're like, yeah, but it's May 4th. I'm like, it's not that of a special day.
Yeah.
It really isn't. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like to turn industry stuff, whether it be film and apparently, especially the gaming industry, into wrestling. That's what I always say. That's how the stuff like sounds like, and it's like it's funny to me because the people who are making this shit couldn't it be further away from wrestlers?
yeah, like,
You know what I mean? I'm gonna tell Kathleen Kennedy the game was delayed, brother, and it's just like no, that's definitely not what happened or how it would happen or could
yeah,
happen.
I've seen people already say it's Disney, the evil overlord, coming in to mess with it, and it's like they absolutely want this to be the best game possible. Like, they probably was just asked, "Is it okay to let them?" Like, yeah, you know what you're doing. Like, you know what's best. Like, most people trust Respawn more than, like, Respawn is EA's golden child because everything they've done has been a success. Like, even it didn't get amazing reviews, but they did a VR game, Medal of Honor, a VR Medal of Honor,
Mhm.
and I played it. and it didn't really review very well, but it won an Oscar. They are the first video game company to win an Oscar. So like they changed all their branding to be the Academy Award winning studio. And it's like that's why people they like EA and whatnot love them, because they made a game. It had this film, World War II veterans film in it, and it won an Oscar. Like they were also the composers behind Fallen Order. They've been really like two of the main people behind getting the Grammys to do video game awards. And now we have that. And they were like the two main people like really driving behind, saying, you do it for everything else, you don't do it for games. And now there's a Grammy for video game music.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. It's like, why isn't it? Because it's so successful. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. Like Respawn, everything they do, and people forget they're making an FPS Star Wars game, and I've already seen people. It's going to be cancelled. Look, I know we've had a lot of Star Wars games cancelled, but come on, like a lot of the people that are making this game are the people behind Titanfall and Apex. Like some of them worked on Modern Warfare 2 and COD 4. Like it's only going to be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, just to like, rationalize it a little bit more too. When a game is like hasn't been marketed yet, it hasn't paid anything at all, it hasn't gone through any of the ratings and stuff like that. It can, like, Ragtag was pretty far along when it got cut. When it was just like when that game, for instance, was killed. There was a lot. They had essentially filmed a movie, like in terms of doing like motion capture and all that stuff for it. It was like how far it was pretty nuts. And one of the iterations of it. So shit happens. But at this point right there, they wouldn't cancel a game when it's 6 weeks away. That is like that's ridiculous. That would like have to be, we don't have the money to market this bitch.
Yeah.
And we might not make our money back.
So all the game's fundamentally broken. They said it's complete. It just needs a few more weeks.
Yeah.
Like the game's almost gone through every age rating now, except for the European, like even the North America, it's been rated there. But a lot of people have sort of misunderstood EA's new marketing approach, which has really worked out for them so far. So their whole thing now is announce game, release it a few months later. Need for Speed, they announced it, I think, in October. It came out in December, and that reviewed exceptionally well and is doing pretty well. They haven't really marketed it because I think they was worried if they put too much money into marketing it, it's not going to be a success, but it's been a success. Jedi Survivor's the same. They announced it at Celebration because I think if they'd have left it much later, it wouldn't have made much. Like Celebration was just the perfect time to announce it. But then it's been quiet until the Game Awards when we got the gameplay trailer, and then they're going to ramp up. There was probably ramp up pretty soon, right? Because it was out in March. But they're just doing this thing where we don't need to do it over years. Like everyone was complaining Star Wars Eclipse isn't getting anything because it's not out in 5 years. It's like, and now they're complaining they're not getting anything because the game is only out in a few months. So they can't win. Whatever they do, there's no middle ground. Like whatever they do, everyone complains. So,
right.
But I think this is good because like it's been a quick 3 years since the game came out, Fallen Order. Like it's hard to believe it has been over 3 years now, which is insane. Like since then we've had a new film, Mando, Andor, Book of Boba Fett, COVID, all of that, and they've made this game from home. Like they've effectively made this entire game from home.
Yeah.
So yeah, and from the post they said they're like they specifically called out they've listened to feedback. I want to know more about exactly because it was quite vague, but it sounds like they actually have listened to what people complain about the first game. They've had 3 years to.
That could be that line could also just be BS at the same time. Like in terms of the press release.
I do think like people. One of the issue people complained about was like the lack of planets. Like you could only go to like 4 of them once you complete the game. It sounds like that was a big thing that they hit on.
Right. How's it going, Rob?
Hey.
Hello.
Are you excited?
6-week delay is a Q&A delay. I'm just letting you know.
Explain that to the.
It's quality assurance. It's just bugs and, So I mean, they're shipping on every multiple. How many is it? PS. It's 360.
It's only next the current gen, not the last gen stuff.
Right, but it's still 3 platforms, right? So it's Xbox, PS5, and PC. So that's just somewhere along the way there's a bug that gets one but not the other, and then certification gets sort of delayed, and that's what that is. So
Yeah.
yeah.
6 more weeks enough to get a bit more money to buy your next gen console. To play.
They'd probably rather fix it than day one patch it. You know, it's actually a pretty good sign. To be honest.
Do you think that they made day one patch it as well?
Yeah, but
Probably,
it won't. There's always going to be a day one patch, but generally something didn't make it through certification. So, look, I'm just speculating, but I've been down this rodeo a few times.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something got.
One of the weirdest bugs experiences I've heard about is it was the Scarif DLC for Battlefront, and when the DLC came out, Lando he could one shot kill any hero. Right now, everyone was like, "How did they miss this?" Well, it didn't appear in any stage of testing, like extensive testing for like months. It only appeared when the game update propagated in the public consoles. Like even in their private public tests, it didn't appear. And like the guy who was like the hero designer, like he had the worst Christmas because like because it was just before Christmas. Everyone was shutting down. There was no cert testing. Microsoft and Sony, like they couldn't. There wasn't an update for like a month. So for an entire month, Lando just killed the game. And it's like it's stuff like that. Everyone complained, but through all their testing, it didn't show up. It just showed up right at the last minute when it deployed to everyone's platforms. And
for Star Wars Galaxies, I was in the private beta and entered in at beta 2, and we would like play things in that game, and like stats would be kind of like working. Some of the stats would matter and stuff. Finally. And then it would go out and publish like to the live beta server where we would play with everyone else. When we'd show up there, it just wouldn't be there. They're just like, we don't know why. We're looking into it. Like that, we had like a message board, I think, back then where we could see what they said. They just be like, we don't know why. It was just like every single time. I mean, that's just kind of how that stuff goes. Like that's why stress testing matters and stuff. But this game isn't online.
Games are hard. People don't realize it. Games are difficult.
Guys, fucking posting something on a goddamn blog is hard. Like games are impossible. Like people are like, hey, how did they miss it? I'm like, go type something and post it on MakingStarWars.net and see if you don't get a typo or some fucking dumb punctuation error. Like, and then that's just one guy, right, Jason? That's just you typing something. Now imagine something that has hundreds of fucking people involved. You know, and that's like primary developers. You're not even talking about, you know, QC ports, translations, mastering, packaging, you know, praying that the right build is the one that downloads off the network. Like sometimes the wrong build goes up on a network and people get the wrong version of the game. Like it's a nightmare. Like the fact that anything happens is a friggin' miracle. I've always understood this because when I was a kid, like used to be able to get free magazines if you just sent in like a business or something. So my dad had a business, so I used to get free magazines all the time. Nothing good, just like technical shit. But I would get Game Development Magazine, which is like the coolest thing I could get, right? Super technical, bunch of math and shit. But I would at least get developer stories and hear how difficult it was. Not until like I actually helped ship some games that I really go, oh, it's fucking magic trick that any of this ever gets done at all. Like, well, let alone at let alone at all. So that's that's the thing just to take away to appreciate that when you play something and it's amazing, like think about the thousands of games that probably come out, you know, a year, like all the indie stuff, mobile, whatever, like, and that thing actually worked. It's freaking brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them don't work. That's the other side of it.
Yeah, go ask a Madden fan what it's like to
I don't know anything about it, but
they crack that open every year. Dude, I heard Madden like deleted everyone's cloud-based fucking saves and shit, like all their fantasy leagues.
That sounds fair. That sounds fair though.
Yeah. Hey, look, since they cost me a job back in 2005, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you that story on another time. But Madden cost me my whole entry level game fucking career gone in a poof. That stupid exclusivity.
Why don't
Yeah.
play football? The Topic Network says April 28th is great for Survivor. 65 days to Star Wars Celebration 2. Hope you both on the Star Wars podcast in the aftermath, of course. Will you both be going? I won't be going. I'm all about the red, white, and blue USA, and if it's not here, I don't know. I just
True.
don't know. I just really don't want to spend thousands of dollars to go to a celebration, not during a movie year, especially. If it was a movie year, I would be way more inclined to take the plunge. But I have very realistic celebration expectations. People are like, yeah, and then Lindelof is gonna come out, and then like Daisy Ridley's gonna come out, and it's just like they're probably gonna be like Damon Lindelof, and it's gonna be a picture of him. It's gonna be like he's making some shit. All right, that's what it'll probably be. I hope I'm wrong though. I could be wrong, and I hope I am, but I wouldn't. I'm not expecting so much from it. But but I'll be able to cover it better from here than there.
To be honest,
That's the truth.
To be honest, I definitely appreciate the James Gunn 5-minute video approach to just announcing all your shit and getting it over with like 5 minutes, whether you like it or not. Fucking five.
Yeah.
Thank God. Versus that like these hour-long presentations, where you're just like waiting to hear what are they gonna do, and they don't do anything till the very end, or they spread it out.
Yeah, I read it. I was pretty about it. As it's true, you're going to Celebration though, right?
Yes,
gonna
I'll
be
be
there.
there every day.
All right. Whenever you see Bespin Bulletin, I want you to like go Bespin and like put up your hand like you're gonna give him 5, and then just like put your hand to your hair and walk past them every single time. Okay, please. It'd mean a lot if you could do that for us.
I'm really hoping there isn't going to be like, well, I want new game announcements, but I also don't want them to be there
Premature?
because I'm going to be there.
Bespin gives him a wedgie.
How am I going to make a video out of it? So, yeah, I might just have to like record it in the moment or something like that.
Just record the wedgie he gives you right afterward. Teaches you a lesson. Dumps you in the fountain. You know what I mean? Yeah. Good old classic 80s style. Teach them a lesson.
And thank you again, Topic Podcast Network, for the super chat, man. I appreciate it, dude. And and Meg, will Lando? Meg asked, will Lando ever go into production? There is no, in terms of just like nothing on the inside, just looking at it from an industry perspective, there is absolutely zero signs that it's going to happen. Looking at what Donald Glover has going on, I don't have all of my I's dotted and my T's crossed on his schedule right now. But last time we looked into it, which was like 2 weeks ago, it didn't look good. It didn't look very reasonable to expect it with Donald Glover's involvement at all. And I don't know if they're interested in doing a Lando series without Donald Glover. Billy D. Williams, I don't think is in a state in his age to carry a series. So I think it's all going to hinge on Donald Glover or a new Lando. And Donald Glover likes to be very involved in the things that he makes and produces, and he's usually a writer on that stuff. And so I just don't see it happening unless he's like already has like a draft already written, and he's like slowly like, oh, I'm tired of working on this project. I'm going to go and revise my script for Lando a little bit. And he's just been chipping away at it, which I doubt is the case considering how many shows he had come out for. I think it was Amazon Prime.
And he's going to be Hypno Hustler. So can't let that get in the way.
Yeah, he's taking, I think I heard he was, if I remember right, he's taking like a year to do music. I think he's going to do like another album.
Well, that'll scare Alex Jones.
He's recording the album now. And then, classically, if you do an album, you do a tour. So, but I also think that like when I haven't toured like Donald Glover, obviously, but in the touring that I've done, I could definitely see getting a lot of writing done while you're just traveling with nothing to do, especially if you're comfortable. And so maybe in like 2 years, I would say. I'm expecting it at any given day without any more news, it to be 2 years away. I think it will eventually happen, but I think it's
You're
gonna
very
have them-
kind, Jason.
Well-
I'm going to tell you right now, it's never happening. Like,
You don't think that Donald Glover wants to do a Lando series just for the fucking exposure of it in terms of his TV writing side to
No.
get more.
No.
I think that strengthens his wheelhouse a lot for future deals.
Let me tell you somehow this works. If you want to do something, you get it done. You don't put it back on the 5th or 6th, 7th thing to do. Then you'd like to. It's kind of fun, but that's how things work. And in this industry, man, it's things are go or no go, and it's hard to get a go project. And if you got a go project, you make it go. Otherwise, you're busy doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
But also, if he makes a deal with them that he's going to do Lando and he's going to do it in 7 years, within 5 years or 7, whatever happens to be. Oh well, but you have to understand, Rob. He signed a deal before Lando for 5 shows. I think it was. It's about 5 shows. It could be 4, but I think it was 5 shows.
Yeah, but those are options. Everyone likes people love getting option deals. They don't
J.J.
like having to
fucking
actually
Abrams.
do the work.
He makes his shit. No, but the difference is that Donald Glover makes his shit.
Yeah, but he makes his shit with no approvals. With fucking Star Wars, it's a million approvals and marketing people and sign-offs and all this other stuff. So, get an option, put that money on the table, and then sit around. And if you're going to do it, you get inspired, fine. If not, whatever. I'm telling you right now, it's never going to happen. I'm not saying he may not appear as Lando one day. I could see him appearing as Lando one day. But him putting together a Lando series, not going to happen. Unless someone else takes it over and he's starring, but him doing it, it's not happening.
I think somebody else taking it over at some point is like, I mean, when you get down to it, Star Wars only has a handful of titular characters. You know what I mean? Characters that could really like
Macquarie talked about this. Hold on, Macquarie.
Though.
I can point you to the exact
fucking bitch, and I'm gonna fucking take him down.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Sorry.
So, like,
I thought you meant Ralph Macquarie. The old
you're gonna have
guy.
to catch him. He's in an airplane all the time.
No, the old dead guy, Ralph.
Oh, the
Macquarie.
old.
I thought you meant him. Sorry, different guy. Different.
Jason's fighting with corpses again. Like I warned you about the last time he did that. So, look in the there's an interview he did back in 2008 or 9. Jeff Goldsmith reposted a year ago. It's the Valkyrie Q&A. If you go to the Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith podcast, Valkyrie, go look it up. But he was talking, it's about the whole period in between Way of the Gun and Valkyrie and what his life was like and whatever. And it was trying to get projects made. And at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Projects don't get made without a director. Yeah, you can have an actor attached, but then you still need a director, and no one wants to touch anything if a director ain't attached. And the same thing with the show. You need a showrunner. It's like someone who's putting the whole thing together. And this guy, and he can say he wants to do it. Otherwise, it would have been done by now. It would have been set up if you wanted to do it. This is you don't, the turnover's too high. You can say, oh, these people like me.
Hold on, one sec. Let me say one thing. Look at how many shows they put out. There wasn't.
Yeah, look how many times those shows have changed hands behind the scenes, and someone's over, but then they're not over here, and blah 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 blah.
But what I'm saying is there wasn't actually any room for Lando on the docket until 2024. There's just no way. No space.
Okay, so you really think that whole thing's written right now? Like no, and I don't think he has even a basis of it.
I don't know that we don't know. Usually,
no, I'm just betting. Like
no, well, usually the Kathleen Kennedy way of approving a project to move forward is a general pitch, and I don't want to go too anti corporate where I'm just like, yeah, it was all stats about Lando and infiltration in markets. I don't think that's how it happened, probably, and so. I don't know. I mean, like in my opinion, they agreed to do a Lando show down the road, and Lucasfilm was like, "Oh shit, nothing is coming to fruition." I think they announced that Lando show well earlier than they meant to. So
like everything that they do,
they didn't even tell us Glover was involved. Sure. that's how early they because they couldn't actually do it. They weren't allowed.
Well, I'm willing to bet we'll see Rian Johnson direct something Star Wars, whether it's an episode of something, before we'll see this Lando project.
Poker
just
Face
saying.
is really good. Poker Face,
Yeah.
it's
That's
really
pretty
good.
But he's paying for those reviews and stuff. Like that's what they're saying.
Because
Like
we're all
Well,
shield. Because
Jason
Disney's
pays for
paying
his
the
leaks.
Avatar
So.
box office to be faked, and Ryan's paying to have good reviews.
Yeah.
Like
oh,
it's all one big conspiracy.
you could just
Yeah.
watch the show and be like, actually, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but they say they watch it for like 5 minutes and then say, "Oh, it's as bad as Last Jedi," and then they turn it off.
Oh, weird. I couldn't think of anything further from the Last Jedi, whether you love Last Jedi or not. Like, it's not one of those shows where I would go, "You loved Last Jedi, therefore you love Poker Face." In fact, I'd say no. Actually,
They just hate everything he touches.
Yeah,
like because he ruined Luke to them.
because he's a fucking libtard. That's why. The Topic Network says, "Oh, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Another super chat from Topic Network, $10. Let's bet. What is everyone's over under on Obaid Chinoy and Lindelof on stage in 65 days, announcing 9, 10,
Oh, it's
and 11,
not 10 through 12.
12, 13, 14, and 15. I'm 100% serious. I want pizza bets. Do it, you cowards. Laugh out loud. Love you guys. So I'd say absolutely zero chance of it being episode 10 onward. But at the same time, there comes a point where when you move away from Luke Skywalker and you move away from Han and Leia, the further you get out from that, the less it becomes episode 10, right? So I think that it will in essence be that, but it's going to be something else set in the aftermath of that. So I think spiritually it will be episode 10, but not really. But it's not episode 10. And when they launched the sequel trilogy, they did a marketing bullshitty thing, came up with Skywalker Saga. It's one of the first things to start showing up on the website when you held your mouse over episode 1 through 6 back then, and then they added 7 and then it said Skywalker Saga. And so they have that idea planned. Now the whole thing that I don't think they will do in this era under Kennedy or in this current marketing round of people, but we will get an episode 1 again, but it won't be episode 1 of the Skywalker Saga. It will be episode 1 of the Rob Saga, of the As a True Saga, something like that. It'll probably eventually something like that will happen, just to keep it all straight. Maybe. But anyways, he asked about the Obaid Chinoy and Lindelof on stage in 65 days. I think that is actually very likely to happen. That they would be on stage to announce them, though. Because they will be filming. They will be, the producers will be getting everything ready down at the studio in the UK at that time. So they'll likely be around. So it's way more possible for them to show up than if they were filming it here. If they were filming it here, I'd say that they're not going to do it that close to production. But since they're already in the country, I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that they'll call it something like Fallen Republic or Dark Republic Episode 1 if they wanted to go that way. Like they can give it a different sub moniker. You know what I mean? Like, but they better sooner than later, because they can't. How do I say this? Like, if you have a sequel to a new series, but it's not 10 or 11, then you're never going to end this. So you got to give it a different subheading, and then give it a numerical stuff under that subheading to get people to, you know what I mean? Like, to fucking understand and move past. Otherwise, anytime you announce the next one, they're going to, well, is this going to go to 10? Is this going to go to 11 and 12? Like, I don't think they have any gumption to make a 10 through 12 anytime soon.
They stopped with the episode numbers originally because once they started getting 7, 8, 9, it starts to feel a little bit like the old Rocky joke. Rocky 15, Rocky 16, Rocky 17. This time, Rocky fights Alzheimer's, stuff like that. They were like, they didn't want those high numbers. It doesn't say accessible. It doesn't say, hey, come hop in. It's like, you ever look at like an anime series and you're like, oh, they literally made 900 episodes of One Piece. I'm good, or whatever it is. I'm not gonna jump into that. Like they don't want that to happen, so that's why they dropped the episode monikers.
But they could also be the ones to bring it back and be the only one in town doing an episode numerical, and then that would differentiate their shit from everyone else. Because when they start to just go with subtitles, then it can fall into like the Marvel side of things where it's Star Wars, hyperspace mania. Like it just you don't like what does that mean? What is it a part of kind of thing?
Well, I tried to watch. Bespin kept bothering me. I mean this in a fun way about how I need to watch Fast and the Furious, and I tried. I watched like the fourth one first. Then I watched like the first one. Then I think I accidentally watched the third one. I'm like, this is just so because the titles are so stupid. Fast and the Furious would be great if it was Fast and the Furious Episode 1. I could just be like, oh, okay, I can follow this. But yeah, and when you don't really care a lot, you're not really like in it, it's kind of hard to get into it. But I think the dumbest of ways, if they did do that, if they did say like it's not called this, it's called the blank saga, whatever it happens to be, I think a lot of people would maybe would see it as something slightly different and drop some of the old fights. Some of the old, like there's some people that are going to still be fighting the fucking last Jedi culture war because it's in the sequel trilogy era. And I think if they name it something different, I think the marketing of that alone would just sort of help. Those people will probably be dumb anyway, though, so it probably doesn't matter. But I think it would help at first.
It's tough because like I see some people genuinely have. I've actually started to see a few people saying like in my comments, my videos, I've been done with Star Wars since like the Mandalorian's the thing that took me off, and I'm done with Star Wars. But then I'm like, you're literally commenting on like a new Star Wars game, saying how much you hate like one of them said, "Oh, I stopped watching Mandalorian, but I hate like Andor," and I'm like, so you stop, but you hate something you've not watched, sort of thing.
Oh no, they don't like everything. It's doomed. Like whatever.
and then there's people that watch everything, but have watched everything since Last Jedi.
So these people play and love every Nintendo game, every one of them, right? If it has Nintendo on it, they buy it and they love it. And if they don't like one of it, Nintendo's doomed, right? That's how it works. Sure.
Yeah. I saw people in the chat of this stream like yesterday saying Last Jedi's a failure, Andor's a failure, and I'm like, in what? Like you have a really bad definition of a failure then, because like it wasn't, it isn't.
Yeah.
Well, because they just want to manifest shit as a true. They like to say things, and if they keep saying it, they think it's true. Mm-hmm. This is nothing. Come on, man! Like how many you've been on? Look how long I've been on here. The day I told everyone I liked the Avatar, you know what I mean? Like, keep saying what you want to happen. That doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't. I for the love of God, I've been wanting Michael Bay to make a Hot Wheels movie since the early 2000s. I'm like, or MotorStorm. I think this shit's right up. It's never gonna happen. And as much as I complain about Transformers, they keep making those fucking movies. Like no
because
matter what.
People like me go on the day it comes out and enjoy it.
You love the trailer. You go on the day and then you go, well, it could have been worse. Like, they make another one.
Nick says, let's all agree Fast and the Furious 2 is the greatest film ever to be made. You're right, Ka. Isn't that what he says in that one? Anyways, yeah, Paul Walker says Ka. It's like, what? Anyways, yeah.
Too soon, Jason.
Oh, Paul Walker, come on.
Too soon.
He should have lived up to. He should have walked.
He looked more like Anakin than I thought. I thought he was more Anakin than the dude we got. So.
They're the same fucking person. I don't know what you're even talking about.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Good-looking white boys who get more ass than all of us combined will ever get in one day, and they can't act for shit. That's just the truth.
No one can act better than the other.
Paul Walker can act. Paul Walker and Hayden Christensen are.
One can act better than the other.
They're clones. They're exactly. You're being generous, I think.
I'm in a generous mood.
No, but yeah. So, anyways, to go back to the thing, I do think that we will likely see them at Celebration because they will be in the UK at that time. The only thing that goes against it is what are they actually doing in terms of prep work at that time for that series. There could be a chance that they can't make it out there because of that. In which case I think it would be a video. Hey, Star Wars Celebration, it's me, David Lindelof. Remember Lost? I made that. If you like Prometheus, I made that too. and it'll probably be something like that.
If they got
But-
George to do a 30-second video for 20th anniversary of Phantom Menace, it's gonna be fine. Like, he even had to do a cut in the middle of it, or like towards the start. I remember, like, he was moved in a different position. I was like, oh, he didn't know what to say. But
yeah. I mean, it's like the Return of the Jedi anniversary, and Richard Marquand's not around, so there's not too many people who can necessarily be the classic person for that. But I also don't see like Lucas going to the UK unless he's already going to be there for some reason. That we're getting that museum ready, but I think the museum has been delayed until like 2025 now.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I remember when because originally it was like 2020, and I was like, this was before COVID, so I was like, oh, I can't wait to go. Like, I'm going to go on holiday there. Then it ended up being like 2021, 2022, 2023, and now it's like 2025. But like when that opens, I'm sure it'll be fantastic.
Yeah. It's not far from me, so I'm excited about it. Topic podcast, another super chat says the next saga, the next trilogy, two major draws for the audience. Can a non Skywalker saga succeed? And damn, opening crawl. So
a good movie's a good movie, man. If it's a good movie, everyone will tell everyone it's a great movie, and then everyone will go see it. That's it. You make a captivating cinematic experience, people are gonna go see it. That's it.
We've seen that this year with like Top Gun and Avatar.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. Like that. I'm telling you, Jason, all this chatter about what people hate, it didn't stop fucking, Thor Love and Thunder making more money than the last Thor movie. Didn't stop Doctor Strange still making $950 million. Like, it's just chatter. It doesn't actually translate to dollars or box office. To be successful, if it's freaking amazing, people will go. People still want to go see Star Wars in a movie theater. If it's an amazing experience, then people will go see it. Will they be there the first night? No. Maybe there's burnout. Maybe there isn't. I don't know if it's poorly marketed. But then you could still have, like Avatar could open up to 130 million and still end up at 2 billion 5 weeks later. Same with Star Wars. So I actually would prefer it being more low key that builds an audience than heavily relying on a character like a Kenobi or something to get everyone in day one, and then people be let down because it didn't, fulfill whatever imaginary theory they had. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think with the Star Wars films being every other year, is that biannual? Biannual films? Does biennial mean? That would be one every 2 years, not two films. Yeah. So making sure I got that right. So with that right there, I think that the films will be marketed better. People will get it. There will be more TLC in that like launch, and a Star Wars film has Star Wars and a lot going for it.
I think
when you were saying that,
will
I thought of like so many
it.
movies don't make money that are good though. But I think Star Wars is outside of that. Sorry, what were we gonna say?
I think this break, like, even though it's not what we want, and COVID was an issue, and then the directors and stuff like that, this is probably going to help it because people are waiting for it. Like, I see some people like they're burned out with all these shows, but like they're so different. I know some people just treat Star Wars as like it's the same thing all the time, but like we've said plenty of times on the show, Andor is so different to like say Mando, but the film's going to be so different to those, and people just I've not been to a cinema to see Star Wars in it'll be 5 years, right?
Yeah,
which
5 years.
is a long, considering we had one every year for 5 years, it's starting to feel like we're over halfway there, so we are going to get there, and it'll be good. People will be waiting for it.
Yeah, I think when the films start coming out again, they won't be just Disney Plus in the theater. And that right there, I think, is going to be good for the whole thing. I think the whole thing is going to feel so much healthier at that point because, for instance, when you get down to it, within 2 years' time, you got Mando and Andor and Kenobi and Boba and some of the shows you love, some of them you might not have. Some of them were keepers and some of them were stinkers. But it becomes more okay. Like it's okay to take a risk making Kenobi that way because it was just on Disney Plus and we have all this other stuff going on. You know what I mean? And then like Andor too. Andor was grown up
Well-
Star Wars, and that does not make my kids happy. My kids don't want to watch Andor Star Wars. They watch it like in 15
So
minutes.
glad they're not in
segments.
charge of programming, huh, Jason? You know,
No, but it's for your old fucking ass, and I want you taken care of too. And by putting films back in the theaters, it allows them to do shit for the old stinkers such as yourself and the little stinkers such as them. And then
I think the better
I win up.
example-
I love it all.
A good example is recently is Puss in Boots. You know, like
Yeah, it was
no
great.
people were so burnt out on that whole, Shrek.
I hate Shrek.
thing.
Hey,
Yeah, but they were burnt out on all those
hate me?
DreamWorks movies.
You hate
But
me
then
for
the
saying
word of
that?
mouth, it gets very little fanfare when it releases, but then word of mouth picks everything back up. So
Every time I tell someone around Azachu's age I hate Shrek, they're like, "Fuck you, bud." Like they really get like and I'm just like,
Yeah.
Shrek, what? That's
Yeah.
what we're nostalgic for now? No.
I'm not a fan of Shrek, but my experience at the Shrek 2 local radio premiere is one of my all-time favorite moments in life.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I went with my uncle, who's super, super big. He's a big dude. He's a big fat dude,
Yeah.
proud of it. And, when these radio premieres, when you go into the theater, always look under your seat because sometimes they have like stickers or markers. They give away stuff. My uncle knows this trick. It's the oldest trick in the book. So he definitely found the seat with the thing, and and so they had this thing where they were giving away a year's supply of Baskin Robbins ice cream, right? And he stands up, and the whole theater booed him. It's like he's a big fat dude. And my uncle was like, shut up. He went down there and got his fucking ice cream. And we all had ice cream afterward. We went out to Baskin Robbins.
The first act of that new Puss in Boots movie is so strong. I mean, it's seriously one of the strongest first acts in a movie I've seen in years. That's just like the kinetic energy. It's just moving and it's witty. It's surprisingly good. I hate to say it, I thought like I put it on thinking it was going to be some like diarrhea, and I was like, yeah, Penny will get bored and fall asleep. I'll get to go play video games. That's like literally what I thought when I rented it. And then we sat there and we're like, oh, this is really good. I watched like the whole movie.
It's fantastic. I just don't understand why they dropped the frame rates down during the action. Like, it's so weird. Like giving the Spider-Verse like lower frame rate during the action.
Style?
Then
that style looked cool.
But no, it's not that way the whole movie. It's only during action sequences.
Yeah. It's
super
like a style though. It's like a
yeah,
style.
but it goes in and out of it, man. Like I don't understand it. Like do the whole movie that way or don't. But in and out, I don't want variable frame. I'm not a fan.
That was the heat of battle, friend. The heat of battle.
Not a fan. Of
Topic podcast. Another $2 super chat. Simpler bet. Will a trilogy be announced? Yes or no? I say no. A series will be announced. It will be something just like they did with the Benioff and Weiss. Was that? Wait, yeah, those are the Game of Thrones guys, right?
Yeah.
Their trilogy, quote trilogy, was it's a new series of films, and when we're basically promising you two, and if the first one is successful, then we'll definitely continue on and make more. And so they were promising you two films, and even without success on that one. I don't know if in post-pandemic, if they will be promising extra films even without success. I think it was a different time back when, movies still made a lot of money almost no matter what in comparison to what they can do now. Or, I mean, like now you could have a real big runaway hit, but not everything is making what it did before the pandemic. So in my opinion, they announced of the first in a series if it's successful. And so I expect the first film to stand alone on its own merits, almost no matter what, but leave open the possibilities for more. And then if it bombs, then it becomes the further adventures of Kira in the Marvel Comics fodder stuff is what I think that would be its fate. But I'm with Azatru in the sense that I think that they've created actual scarcity of Star Wars in the theater, and we want to see it. I mean, Rogue One, I'm not trying to make it sound like the Rogue One re-release for that weekend or whatever was like a runaway thing, but it generally was fairly sold out every single time. I think it said something about the fan base still being there, still wanting to go to the theater. And Rogue One, while it did make like $1 bajillion, it still wasn't like the biggest. I wouldn't call Rogue One like a cultural like landmark in Star Wars history. When it came out, it was sort of just like on that forward momentum of The Force Awakens, I think, but it still did pretty well, enough that it actually got a second release before Andor. But then we didn't see it. We didn't see Andor profit from that, did we?
I think when it came out, I can't remember the exact number, but over $1 billion. I was like, that I was expecting that, but also a bit surprised. Like, oh, that's really, really good. But then people twisted changed the goalpost where Last Jedi is a failure, even though, and it's like, well, everyone's got like this weird definition of a failure. It's like, did it make a profit? Yes. Did it review well? Yes. So how is it a failure? And it's like none of the Star Wars. I mean, even Solo, it did the really bad compared to all of the others, but it's not. It wasn't like it didn't lose loads of money, right? Like completely lost loads of money, or it basically broke even.
Oh no, it lost money. They reshot that film. Yeah, anytime you reshoot the film, your best case scenario, unless it's a $2 billion film, you're breaking even at best.
Well, it's not. They didn't refilm as they probably. I'm just going to throw it out there and say if they refilmed the speaking close-up shots, and then they had to redo the Ord Mantell set, and that's why it looks. Or sorry, the Kessel set. By Spencer Kessel. Yeah, that's why it looks like a TV set, because they were like, it's way cheaper, and so yeah, they refilmed a lot of it. It basically was Rogue One in a weird way was the problem with Solo. Rogue One said go in and trash it and remake it, for the most part, and spend more money on it. You'll profit from it, and that's not always true. It wasn't true for Solo. And then Rogue One made $1 billion. Even if Solo doesn't make $1 billion, it's be bringing in like $750 million. That's what they thought. Nope. No, it's not. And so yeah, they got Iger got greedy. The eye of the Iger got greedy.
I also think it was like the era, like the Solo didn't have like a lot. It didn't have the Rebels and much of the Empire, whereas Rogue One was like 50-50. Yeah. And like I've seen some absolutely insane comments today. Lego Star Wars fans saying how the Empire is the greatest thing ever, and like they've replaced all of the in all of the minifigs, they replaced all of the human faces with just plain black heads, saying none of the we don't like human people underneath. Like we're Team Empire. Like Empire is the best. They did nothing wrong. And I'm like, it just kept going. I was like, this isn't a joke. Like these, I click on their profiles to get. Are they really joking? And I'm like, the stuff they're commenting on, other stuff like real life political. I'm like, no, these people genuinely do believe the Empire is like the good guys in all of this. And I'm like, this is scary. Like these. I don't know what to say. This is Lego Star
these people are cowards, Donnie. Don't worry. Right? No, I wouldn't fear these people. These are chicken shit cowards. They ain't gonna do nothing with their lives. They're just gonna sit around complaining about and trolling people on the internet. They're fucking losers. Don't worry about them.
Yeah, my like whenever I play like a video game and stuff, like you go back to the Star Wars Galaxy, it's like everyone's like, are you going to be on the Rebel side or the Imperial side? It's cool to like get your like stormtrooper costumes and stuff. Maybe maybe you could do that. And I'm like, it's a lot more fun to blow up at it. It's a lot more fun to attack the cool looking stuff. That you're looking at it instead of being it. But it's weird how you would internalize that.
I always, when I was playing Battlefront at the originals, I would always like play as the Rebellion, like recreating like the Battle of Endor and stuff, because like I thought I was like either one of the soldiers or Han Solo. Like I was killing the cool stormtroopers. Like I'm defeating the Empire, not the other way around. I'm slaughtering the rebels, and I'm trying to change history, sort of thing. Like, yeah, stormtroopers can be cool to play as, but like just killing them is like it's good.
Well, like in like Fallen Order, you could take Fallen Order is one of the times you get to drive an AT-AT in a way. You're like, you're in the walker, and like. When I think back to like graphics aside and stuff like that, it's a lot more fun in Shadows of the Empire getting at a snowspeeder and tripping the walker with the tow cable than like just be like,
Yeah, like in Lego Star Wars, that was one of the best things like to do, like taking out the AT-ATs, and it does feel
Yeah.
like seeing it from that perspective, like you're in the like you're taking part in the battles in the film on the Rebel side has always been how I've enjoyed playing games. Like even like I think Lego Star Wars 2 was my first one, so I was always coming at it like, oh, I'm Luke and I'm blowing up the Death Star, like, or doing the Battle of Endor, and I really like doing that.
Topic Podcast Network Super Chat says, will the main theme intro crawl return in a film? So 2 things about that. Number 1, I don't think it's been decided. It wasn't in Rogue One. It wasn't in Solo: A Star Wars Story. But you want to know something? It was in Kenobi. When Kenobi was going to be a film, it had an opening crawl. It was worked on. And I had a buddy at Lucasfilm confirm that to me 100%.
I do feel like that would fit Kenobi way more than the other 2, though, because how it's literally focused on a character that's in so much of the Skywalker saga, and it's connecting both the trilogies. Whereas Rogue One's like right at the end, right at the start of the original trilogy, and Solo is like just it feels like it's in this weird like space.
Somehow Larry returned, right? First line, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I think the opening crawl though should only be there if you are going to play with that Republic serial kind of like vibe and that whole spirit of adventure. If you're going to go with that, then do it. But like when I think of like Andor having an opening crawl, I'm like, oh, no, not at all.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's not the right vibe. So I'm not for it just to like do it. You know, I say don't. But in terms of what Kenobi was going to be, the original movie, and when it was going to be a trilogy and stuff like that, it was going to have opening crawls, and the opening crawls were going to probably eventually inform you about what happened before a little bit, so that way you could get into the second part. And I think that maybe though spoke to the nature of Kenobi as a film being serialized, as opposed to Rogue One that was designed to be a one-off, Solo that was designed to be a one-off, and stuff like that. But all right, and then so my answer would be I say it probably won't, unless they're really doing a throwbacky thing, and we don't know anything about it though. So you could, but you could look at Lindelof, you could look at the director and stuff, and I just feel like it's not going to go that way. Like it's not going to go back to the Republic serial thing. I don't know how you sell that Star Wars to people that you're trying to sell Zack Snyder stuff to at the same time. Like that's why they got what's his name to write 9. Like they were trying to sell it to those people too. And and the Marvel model, not really trilogies anymore. Hey, as long as the saga opening and saga fill, imagine if they announce, and yes, we will be calling them episodes. Yeah, that's the whole weird thing with Star Wars though, is like when Marvel does something, like Iron Man has like a whole embedded fan base. It's like Iron Man's underappreciated. He's my favorite character. Captain America, I've been reading him since I was 4 years old. He's my favorite. So whenever they do these like solo standalone films, they kind of have like a little bit of like an Easter egg. That's not what I meant to say. They have a little bit of like just like a little audience that they could like grow, a little bit of a fan base to begin to exploit and build out. Ant-Man even and stuff like that. Like 20 years ago, if you told me to make an Ant-Man movie, they'd be like, "You're fucking high." They would make the
Jason,
Atom first.
They made 3 Ant-Man films before a Batman trilogy. Think about that.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, and
yeah.
But where I'm going with that is that, like with Star Wars, for some reason they really struggle with getting like Lando to have that kind of like autonomy. It just doesn't for some reason. Solo, everyone's like it's all the same thing. Everybody wants it always to be connected. Like I don't know, I could be wrong, but when an Ant-Man movie's coming out, is everybody always asking how Doctor Strange is going to show up in it, or do they not do that? Do they do that too?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But it's like Star Wars can't get away from it, and that's what like people have like a hard time enjoying these other things for what they are. And Marvel has a huge, I think, advantage in like being all from one era, whereas Star Wars is a family story, and it originated as a family story, and therefore takes place in multiple eras of time, Godfather style. And I think that's what makes Star Wars so much more difficult to market and to connect in the way that Marvel does. So it's never a one-to-one. There's always things to learn from Marvel, but here's the comedy of it. I told the story yesterday on the show. Was it yesterday I did a show? When I met with somebody from Disney, they were a Marvel person who was representing Lucasfilm because they handled all of the marketing for Star Wars. The sequel trilogy was ostensibly marketed by the Marvel people. So when people go, why does Marvel do it this way and Lucasfilm doesn't? It's literally like the same people.
Yeah, but they're not talking about the posters and the marketing. What they're talking about is one continuous story that links in. And what you had was an episode 7 and then a Rogue One that takes place before episode 4. And then you had an episode 8 and then you had a Solo that takes place before episode. It's jumping around. It's not continually linked. And it throws people off, man.
It's not that fucking hard though.
I know it, but people are fucking stupid, dude.
No, but look at what Andor did.
If Avatar 2 took place before Avatar 1, I'm telling you, it's not good, man.
But remember what Andor did? ABY.
TV shows are different. I'm talking about movies.
No. I'm saying.
Oh, forget. I don't.
No, and that wasn't the answer either, because I guarantee you, no one who didn't know what that already meant, no one's paused it and got on their phone and. What does ABY mean? Nobody did that. That wasn't a thing. So it's like it needs to be like, there needs to be text or some way.
An opening crawl.
That, an opening crawl. It could literally. You don't need to write ABY. You could just write, 5 years before the destruction of the first Death Star.
How about we just use the titles of the fucking films? Like, why give them subtitles if you don't go, hey, 5 years before A New Hope, 6 months before Empire Strikes Back. Like, no one knows the names of the fucking battles. They know the names of the movies. That's it. Like, that's the easy. 3 years before The Mandalorian, chapter 12, if you want to be specific.
I would say on Disney Plus, they could make like a little like line, and it could say where everything roughly takes place, like so that way you could just see it there. Because I think if I was to go buy a book today and I was to open up to the first page, it would probably tell me this book, the backsplash of the Empire, that takes place 6 months or 6 years before the Phantom Menace, whatever happens to be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of the books do have like a timeline at the start.
Yeah, so like how hard would it be for them and the app that they own just to make that a little thing, and then you could kind of see like, oh, season 2 of The Mandalorian is 6 months after, whatever, 1 year after.
Truth's trying to give us COVID, Jason.
He's like, that's code for.
I've been ill for like the last 2 weeks. I'm finally getting over it, but.
Did you have COVID?
It's been, no, it's just been really cold. I haven't like left the house. It's just been really cold over here, so
that's why I'm wearing my mask.
What was weird was I had COVID, got it at Christmas time, and I didn't have a cough when I had COVID. Really, I had like a runny nose and all that jazz, and like I coughed like the first day. Then all during like the sick part, I didn't have a cough, and then I have like this lingering cough after. It's like, what is this? This doesn't even make sense. Like usually you have to have a cough to have a lingering cough, but not with this crap. But anyways, Topic Network says, let me know if I'm way off. Just old fashioned. This is a super chat from Topic Network. Thank you again for the support, bud. Let me know if I'm way off or just old fashioned. But sitting down in the theater, Star Wars main theme starts up, opening crawl is at the core of Star Wars' DNA. So my theory about that is if you do that, it comes with all of these certain expectations. Like if
like making a good fucking movie. Like
no. We all agree Rogue One's a pretty good movie, a pretty good popcorn Star Wars film for what it is, right? I think.
Sure.
But if you put the Star Wars theme and the opening crawl in it, that movie tonally, I think, is at odds with it. I don't think it. I don't think it would. I don't think it feels right going into it. It doesn't have like. It just I don't think.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
what
good
they're
pairing. It's
making isn't a
wine-and-cheese.
standalone one-off thing. They're trying to set up a new series of films.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, as much as Rogue One's my second or third favorite Star Wars film of all time,
Okay.
but they need to just stick to the theatrical thing being a continued story and not do a movie that does this story and a movie that does that. Do the different stories on the Disney Plus, right? We're in a different world now, and whatever people go to the theater, the next one is the sequel to the last movie they made. Like for a few films to give people a continuing reason to go. Like that's.
I think they're with you on that. Because the Lindelof series and Rogue Squadron both were post episode 9 stories, and it wasn't an either or. It was supposed to be Rogue Squadron and then Lindelof, and Rogue Squadron fell apart, and then the Lindelof thing became the first one, and I also think that it was the same thing with I think it was the same thing with Taika Waititi's movie. I think it was also a post episode 9 film, but that was never super clear. Everything looked like all ancient in the stuff, which made people think it was a throwback. I kept getting told, just think of Ben-Hur. That's a Ben-Hur homage. And in the context of what I was asking when I was told that every single time, made me think his movie was about slaves revolting, and the era was utterly was inconsequential. So anyways, I think all of these movies are gonna take place in that same era. I think that is probably what's going on. That's slightly informed speculation is what I would call it. Like, I'm not promising you, I don't know that 100%, but I'm pretty fucking sure. I would bet on it though. You know what I mean? I would, if we were just taking bets, I would bet all 3 of those films, with only one of them actually happening, was post episode 9. All of them were, and then I have a feeling that they will end up moving those events up in the timeline. So I still wouldn't be surprised if Rogue Squadron shows up in a film and those ideas are sort of reworked that they were playing with in that timeline, in that era, because that's what that Lucasfilm story group / writers room was about. That wasn't about Lindelof. When you have Lindelof and a co-writer, that's all you need, bud. That's it. You're good. Like, you got a movie. You got a stew. You want a stew? You got a stew. You got a stew cooking. And all of those other people, no, all of those other cooks are about the fact that all this other shit is going to come out with it. It's going to be connected to it, and it's going to be a part of it. So I think that's where we're kind of at. It's sort of like what they did with the High Republic. It doesn't matter if you like it or you don't like it. You can see what they did with it, how they used a team to assemble an era and to put it together. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up learning that some of that High Republic stuff was sort of like what they did with Shadows of the Empire and the prequels, where Shadows of the Empire was a dry run for how they were going to handle the prequels. I kind of think High Republic might be what was happening there. But the only thing going against it is the fact that I haven't heard of any High Republic people that were involved in that, like, makeup being involved in this new team. So, but it could just be the model that they use to move forward on. And hopefully when Celebration comes, they do give us a little bit of like what's up with that. Like what is the model? You know, like they announced the Lucasfilm story group. They like literally announced that it was a thing. And then
I remember,
went up in their ivory tower and were mad that dummies didn't understand what it meant. Now, granted, the dummies who didn't understand what it meant were making up false stories about what it was and then you just knew that they were just talking out their ass, because that's like not even like how it works.
They still are. Like, they still think like Pablo specifically like is the one like ruining Star Wars, and like because he posted the other day like he keeps being tagged with Bob Iger and Kathleen on Twitter. Like, why are you ruining stuff? He's like, yeah, I'm being tagged with Disney CEO and president of Lucasfilm. Like, I'm the one making, like, not Ryan, not JJ, no, but like me. And I can imagine like some of the others like that have not much of a like big of a presence. Like they probably get like some insane like emails off like saying you're, and I'm like, it's crazy. Like I feel
The
like they do
visual
need
dictionary guy is
yeah,
responsible, right?
yeah. Apparently.
I don't mean that as a slight against him either. I just mean like it's like, come on.
Yeah, it's like even Matt Martin gets a lot of hate, even though he mostly just deals with the comics and the games. And
Yeah,
also, I remember
Matt
when
and Leland T,
Battlefront 2,
they're like
yeah,
it's like
I
just
remember when
keeping
Battlefront 2
your
got hate, and it was blaming Pablo, and it was like I didn't even work on Battlefront. Like I'm in the credits because I'm part of the story. I just was like, yeah, like that's what they do. And it's like I remember they always put special thanks Kathleen Kennedy, George Lucas at the end of like literally everything. So people seem to think they have a hand in something. Like,
They should just rename it Laundry Department. So fucking they'll just confuse the fans. They won't know what that is. Like they call it a story group, so they figure if they don't like the story, they're gonna hit them up, and that's not really what the fucking thing's about. So it's not a writer's room.
when when I got into the archive for the Last Jedi, I was able to get into the archive of all of the photos, everything from the Last Jedi before the movie came out. No, Snoke being killed wasn't in there. I had no idea Snoke died. That was my big surprise in that movie. But surprisingly, that when they board the Star Destroyer and Finn and Rose and DJ get the Imperial costumes, they built the most fucking elaborate laundry room set. Like you would not fucking believe. Like it was beautiful. It worked. It had like all of the making, everything you would need, racks with clothes, like washing machines, and like all. And like I'm like, what the fuck is going on in this movie? Like what is this all about? And like when you watch the movie, they just kind of like skirt right past it, through it.
It does feel like that is the part of the film where a lot got cut out, from what I can sort of.
Yeah, I actually
there's
had
a lot of like deleted scenes and stuff.
Yeah, I had Phasma like losing an arm and stuff. I think I had like a scoop on that, all that shit, like the whole thing with like the fight, and then they like for some reason redid that fight. And I didn't think it was actually I don't think it was better how they did it. I don't know why. I feel like they did it to leave ambiguity if she died or not.
I liked the build up though. I feel like it's so fast paced. Like I know I would have probably liked to have seen a bit more of like what's going on the ship, but it's like it's all building up to that incredible moment. I don't know how people still hate it. Like the light speed crash, like that was cool. One of the best moments. Like just when it happens when the first time in the cinema you see it, like that was just so good. And I'm like, I still see people today like saying it breaks my canon and it ruined Star Wars. I'm like, if you
good, so they're done. They're gone, right? They left
even
right
if
after
it doesn't really make sense to whatever. It was still like amazing, and like just the build up as it's all happened, like everything's coming together. It was so good.
Yeah. Most likely it dragged the movie somehow. The rhythm of the movie is my guess, and then so that's why all of that sort of shifted. But anyways, yeah. So I am with you, Topic Podcast Network, in the sense that like that fun like music, that John Williams stuff is at the heart of the Star Wars feeling. But I also think that the prequels, in a weird way, I know Rob will just disagree with me because he's just gonna want to, but the prequels leaned on that really hard from a certain angle, and a lot of the audience rejected it. So I don't think that honoring the serialized kind of shit in that way necessarily equates to like fan acceptance. I think so that's where I'm a little bit like, you know what? I think they should.
That isn't what people rejected about the prequels. Like no one was like, I don't like the serial format with the John Williams music and the crawl and the wipes. No, they fucking hate the shitty ass acting, man. Like this is the fucking some of the worst acting in a major motion picture. It's not nearly as bad as a Wild Wild West, but it's pretty fucking horrible by Star Wars standards.
I feel like see here's the whole thing. When I think if you watch the prequels and then you watch 4, 5, and 6, it's like you just see a different element. You see like a different element in the stylized acting. But it's like there is like a continuity between what Mark Hamill's doing, Hold Me, and the shit that you have in Return of the Jedi and the prequels. But then when you jump over to the sequels, the acting gets way fucking better. And then I could kind of see that in some elements of the original trilogy. But when you put all 9 together, you're like, this is inconsistently acted. that's my one takeaway when I sit there and I watch all 9 now.
And then you see
because a
Andor, where
director's
it's just so
job.
good.
A director's job is to get performances, and Lucas is not interested in performances. So that's it. Like that's your whole deal, man. Like
I saw Padme in that white outfit when her little tummy was shown. That was a performance.
It's not a performance. That's the production designer. And Lucas going, give her a choker. Yeah, give her a choker.
Yes. Yeah, George knew.
Okay. Until she speaks a fucking line, and then you're like, what is she doing?
Let's put some scratches on her back and make her like it. Yeah. You got it, George, said Rick McCallum.
You're breaking my choker. You know, like,
some more coke. Yeah, George, you got it, buddy. But anyways, though, so the fact that they're making this movie in 2023, I think that they should get their shit in order and figure out what it's going to be. What the tone is going to be like for the very start for the next couple of years in it, and then move out from there. And if doing it in that A New Hope serialized way is the way to go with that. If it's going to be fucking Christopher Nolan Star Wars, which it's not going to be, but if it was going to be, then you change your score, you change what elements you'll add to it. Because like if all of a sudden anything serialized, if any Republic serial ness showed up in Andor, it would have fucking been like a record scratch. You know what I mean? It would have. No, you can't do that there.
I could have used a few wipes.
You're all about wiping. You like to wipe so much you're raw. I don't know about that.
I got a bidet, bro. Like that.
I wouldn't have minded. I wouldn't have minded a few wipes either. I'm
hygienic.
But I'm saying like into like the operatic kind of like shit, it just wouldn't really fit. So
we don't know what it is. Mando is extremely serialized, and it doesn't have the John Williams music. So
but it has the spaghetti western, the space
and people love it. So if they just make something that's fucking captivating, what they need to do,
that's what I'm
gonna be honest. They need to not have 3 fucking different films. And need to have one film that connects to the next film that connects to the next film. Don't be doing, hey, Taika's got a movie and you got a movie and you got a movie. Stick with one fucking thing in the film in the theaters. Just commit to something. Make a fucking decision, and commit to it. What scares me about all of this, man, is this whole like they got like a backup plan on a backup plan. They haven't even put one thing out. And they got like multiple plans in case they fail. It's never a good sign when you're planning. Look, anything endeavor, anytime you go to create something, if you want to make a comic book, you want to make a video game, don't have 3 other fucking games in your pipeline while you're making one in case this one don't work. Focus on the one fucking thing.
That wasn't what it was, though.
It's what it's come across like, though, to be honest with you.
It came, I think it came up with, we're going to do this in an era. We're going to do an era of film. And in that era of film, the things are happening concurrently, whatever. I think that's what it was going to be. And then, but when it comes down to the Lindelof part of things, that's where shit was, that's when everything was like being ironed out of, we're going to like straight up do like, a 7, I think I've heard it's 7 years. They have a 7-year trajectory of these films. And at Celebration, I think the Snyder said they're going to announce 5 years.
They got a show going on right now.
And yeah, our buddy Chris is like, they didn't talk anything about Star Wars. I'm like, that guy says he doesn't like Star Wars. He like literally says, I don't like Star Wars.
Yeah,
so,
he doesn't like it.
So, but anyways, so I where I'm going with this is, those concerns I think should be alleviated. The truth of the matter is, I think Rogue Squadron was just an easy one-off film to do while that was getting worked out, and the Taika movie was probably this similar thing. These like genre pieces that worked in the era, and then I don't think that they decided to make either of them, and they're deciding to go with this Lindelof way. So I think what they're doing is actually like kind of boring for us, in the meantime. But I think it is actually that. It is actually
It would be the best thing, man. Just stick with one fucking
Mhm.
deal, man.
Yeah.
Like I personally wish it was the Mando, but it's not. So
Yeah.
in lieu of all that
Yeah,
shit, like
Mando
just
on
stick with
TV.
one fucking thing because it's just gonna be fucking weird. It was, it's just gonna. It's just we're splitting up resources and time.
Yeah, well, Mando's a success on TV. Don't fucking ain't broke. Don't fix it, I say. But
Yeah,
we'll be
fix
back.
it.
We'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Actually, I'll be back tonight to talk about the cartoon show with
I'll be up.
Max. You'll be up. You'll be up. All
Yeah.
right. And then, so if you want
I
to
will
jump
not.
on anytime, just let me know. I'll send you the invite.
No,
Um,
I've got videos to be getting on with tomorrow.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah. You don't watch that Bad Batch, right, Azadrew?
No, I watch it.
You know what? You're perfect. That says it all.
No, that's
yeah.
yeah. We'll see. Maybe it'll get good. Probably won't, but we'll know. Who knows? But
I'm just waiting for those last 2 episodes the press haven't seen.
yeah. So me and Rob will if there's any news tomorrow, we'll do a show tomorrow. Otherwise, not doing 2 shows in one day. Essentially, I don't think. But we'll be back the next day at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But
I'm
if
gonna
there's
watch
news,
Return of the Jedi tomorrow. So
you are.
yeah, I'm still going through the rewatch of everything with my brother. We watched A New Hope and Empire this weekend, so we're watching Return of the Jedi tomorrow, and then I'm finally going to be able to get him to start Mando. Which is,
Okay.
You gonna do the
easy.
Chewie Tarzan when he does it? You gonna do it?
I have been found myself like saying a lot of the lines like just naturally, just like I don't know. I haven't even seen these films since like before Rise of Skywalker. It's been that long, and I'm like,
You're not
everything's
missing
so
out.
natural.
Yeah.
In 2023, I say Tarzan is still in Chewbacca's scream. Take that.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
nobody knows who
Classic
Tarzan is
prequel.
anymore.
Revisionist, yeah. Yeah. It was
Honestly,
always
though-
meant to be that way. He wrote it though. The whole thing. He's had it in a vault.
I would be curious though if we were able to do like a huge survey, and we played, if we showed Tarzan and we showed Chewbacca, who would be more famous? You know what I mean?
Richard Dawson wants to do surveys again. You're like,
Yeah,
okay.
no. I wonder. I wonder.
Yeah, of course. Chewbacca
Chewbacca.
is going to be more famous than Tarzan, but he's doing the Tarzan fucking yell. I don't care if
Tarzan's-
it's famous.
Oh,
No one knows who the
wait.
fucking Hidden Fortress is, but that doesn't change its influence on Star Wars.
Yeah. So you're talking about when Tarzan does the Chewbacca yell, when he gets on the rope and he does the Chewbacca yell. Is what you're talking about?
Classic.
Is that what you're talking about?
Classic appropriation by a white guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Wookiee appropriation.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for jumping on later with us today, or with me today, Rob, and thanks for jumping on with us at all today. That's true. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always better when Avatar's around.
It is better. That's the truth. So everybody, I hope everybody enjoys the Bad Batch, or if you're not watching it, has a good night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow, and I'll see you guys tonight at probably about 12:35 in the morning Pacific Standard Time tonight. All right, later, guys.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go.
It's the end of the show. It's the end of the show.